Today, Sanjay Jha is here with us not just as a Congress spokesperson, not just as someone who, who is a part of a political spectrum, but also someone who unfortunately has tested positive for COVID. Now, I hope that Sanjay will recover fast, and I'm pretty certain that he will beat the odds. But at the same time, I also want to know from him today exactly how is he planning to deal with this crisis. What really happened to Sanjay Jha? That's what I want to know. So Sanjay, first up, let's unmute you, and let's get you started. Maybe you can unmute yourself, Sanjay. There you are. Your son, okay, you've
Yeah.
unmuted yourself. Great. There you are. We got a lot of other friends as well who will be joining us as we move along, because we want to look at the story of economy as well. Sanjeeva, Shivesh, and Anurag Batra will be with us in a short while from now. But first, Sanjay, to you. I'm very happy, I must say, to see you smiling. But tell me, Sanjay, what happened? I mean, is it in any way making you feel scared, bad? I mean, what's going on in your mind right now?
Well, I mean, definitely, I was surprised, very stunned. I wasn't expecting to test positive at all. And, one of the reasons why, Bhupendra, I felt that it's important to kind of talk about it publicly
Hmm.
is, I've been reading a lot about this stigma being attached to COVID. I think it's ridiculous. Let's everybody accept it that it's like any other virus, and it can hit you when you least expect it. Now, I'll give you an example of what really happened here.
Hmm.
A couple of days ago, actually, to be more precise, on Sunday morning,
Hmm.
I woke up feeling a little uneasy.
Hmm.
Very mild kind of a fever of around 99,
Hmm.
which I could not really decipher. I could not really explain why I had fever because I didn't have a serious nose block. I didn't have a sore throat or a chest congestion. I really didn't have the typical cold symptoms that normally happen to me if I were to, kind of develop some kind of a temperature. I
Hmm.
had none. And the only other manifestation that concerned me was that I was losing the sense of smell. In the
Hmm.
sense that when I was having my strong cup of tea in the morning,
Hmm.
or having a pretty, kind of well-defined breakfast,
Hmm.
I was not able to get the smell of the toast or the jam or the eggs and so on. And I
Hmm.
think that got me a little concerned because I could not figure out as to or decipher as to what was the source of this discomfort where I was concerned. So I called my doc.
Hmm.
My GP, fortunately, happens to be a great guy.
Hmm.
And guess what he told me on Sunday, day one? He
Hmm.
said, I want you to test for COVID.
Hmm.
And I was like, you can't be serious because I mean, these things happen. Why should I go and do a COVID test?
Hmm.
Because honest, Bhupendra, who wants to give a COVID test and then, kind of stress over 2 days waiting for the results?
Hmm.
So we decided to wait one more day. And then a day later, when I was feeling good, he said, well, maybe everything is hunky dory. And then a day later again, my fever rose back to the 99 levels. Not
Hmm.
very disconcerting a level of temperature, but enough to make you feel very uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
I think my doc said, just go and get yourself tested.
Hmm.
And I have anyway put you already on a coronavirus treatment.
Hmm.
And let's hope for the best that you don't test positive. But if you do, let me assure you, you're already on the way to recovery. So I think my big learning here, Bhupendra, has been that all of us, everyone is vulnerable to a great extent.
Hmm.
And no matter what the masks, the social distancing that we maintain, it's an airborne disease.
Hmm.
And therefore, be paranoid, be very alert, be extremely careful. And if you have an experience of catching colds in the past, then I think you should be extremely cautious going forward.
You're extremely cautious. I understand that, but help us understand this. Sanjay, because after you tweeted, the moment you tweeted, Sanjay, and I'm looking at all comments which are coming in on Periscope feed and Twitter and Facebook. Everyone wants to know that here is Sanjay Jha. You're a perfectly urban person, and one would like to believe that you won't be sort of hanging out. You won't be, exiting your place, so to say.
Yeah.
So tell me, where do you think you could have contracted this virus? Your family members, your driver, house help? What could have happened?
My personal sense, I will only kind of, I'm guesstimating here really,
Yeah.
is either when I went out for doing my grocery shopping or buying, kind of dog food,
Hmm.
or when I possibly ordered them home. And we also kind of have been ordering occasionally, not very often, online food delivery at home as well, which is ready-made food from restaurants. So I have a feeling that those are situations where the food comes in, and frankly, I don't think we have taken, the disciplined process of, kind of keeping the food out for a couple of hours or kind of cleaning the vessel up. I think the food has just been put into a regular, kind of home container and served. And I think there I do suspect that we've been vulnerable. Also, there in the building, there are people, who come from outside and who are either selling eggs and breads and so on. And while one may not be traditionally buying it all the time, but one has consumed that as well. Now, you don't know where it's really kind of emanated from. But my big fear is that it is so airborne that, even if I took a walk in the evening, for example, and if somebody may have just sneezed or, coughed and was COVID infected, it's in the air and it can come in through my eyes. I can't do much about that. So unless I'm wearing glares or I'm wearing glasses, I may be even kind of susceptible to that kind of an infection. So it's really extreme cases. And, every time we have gone out, you're right, we take all the care. I have my daughter at home, my wife, we've got to be extremely sensitive. So one has never been casual. But it's possible that, 2 months down the line, there's one day where you may just drop your guard, you're parking your car in a different spot and you're not wearing your mask, and somebody from the outside happens to be in the building, and there you go.
So when you realize, Sanjay, take me through that moment. I've asked this question to a lot of people who got hit by this virus, and as there is absolute chaos and panic which exists in large parts of the country, no other way to describe this. In Mumbai itself, where you are, given the fact that Mumbai is a place, which is also bursting at its seams, the way cases are happening, much like in Delhi. When you realized that you were hit by this virus, what was the thought that came to your mind?
Well, I basically firstly, I was like too shocked when I got to know by the BMC this morning that I tested positive. I had to ask the person 2 or 3 times, are you sure? And said yes. And because the first thing that crosses your mind actually is your family. And you want to take care of them, and you want to make sure that you're not putting everything at risk, because suddenly I can't drive the car. Suddenly, if they need a medicine, I can't go out. And, the building comes under all kinds of restrictions. So these become your prime responsibility. And you feel very guilty for, contributing to that horrendous mess. At the same time, you tell yourself that this is the way it is. Everyone is very fatalistic. We all believe it will never happen to us. I did my calculation yesterday night because I was expecting the test today, and I said 30,000 people in Mumbai, and I divided it by 22 million. And I said 0.000%. Is it really going to happen to me? Not really. And, we all tend to fool ourselves by getting the statistical comfort. But the fact of the matter is, you tell yourself that this is a pandemic. And, and one of the reasons why I was always a bit concerned is because I have traditionally for years, since I was a child, I catch colds more easily than maybe most people do. It's not so bad, but say I get a cold once every 6 months, something like that. So I always knew that in COVID time, I would have to be doubly careful. I think I was, but clearly, it's a crazy pandemic, and you got to be alert 24/7. And, and most important, take care of yourself. The lesson that I'm getting here is, to build your immunity, be well hydrated, eat healthy food, grab your hours of sleep. And I'm very confident that my doctor told me that stay at home. You don't need to go to the hospital. It's 10 days of quarantine, self-isolation at home, and you should bounce back.
Final question then, Sanjay, since a lot is happening in the city of Mumbai, as I said, much like the city of Delhi. What's your take, Sanjay? Now that you will end up going through the same ecosystem, you are presently home quarantine, and I hope that you try and recover as quickly as possible. But throw some light now on what do you make out of this massive criticism which is being mounted, that infrastructure in Mumbai collapsing with the growth in numbers.
Well, I think, a very, very big problem for Mumbai. International destination, 42% of Mumbai lives in slums. And the 42% live in a 9% geographical area. So you can imagine the density of population. And I keep saying that even in Malabar Hill and Nepean Sea Road and Colaba and Cuff Parade and Worli and Lower Parel, they got big buildings and very, very expensive premium apartments. But again, they are all dense. Everyone is living in apartments in a big block. So I think Mumbai is by its very nature extremely vulnerable to these infections. So I mean, COVID, a tailor-made challenge for Mumbai, and the fact that we are a cluster-heavy city would always put the city at risk. But I will agree, and I don't want to bring politics into it, but I think all over our country we have discovered, and I'm not going to blame any one government, it's a traditional problem over years. Our public health infrastructure has been woefully inadequate. And I think that should be the future, kind of political debates for times to come.
Well, I do hope, Sanjay, I do hope that what's happened to you does not happen to anyone else, whether it's a citizen, migrant worker, politician, whoever. But most significantly, I hope that you recover soon. You recover soon.
Right.
Do take good care of yourself, Sanjay. And let's be in touch with each other on social media. And here, this is the new age world. Sanjay Jha.
Thank you, Bhupen.
Thank you. All the very best.